Charlie. Okay, coming at you from my office here at Oakland University. What I figured I'd do, because we're going to see the play tonight rather than actually having our class, what you wind up missing is a review. So I wanted to be very sure that you understood what I was asking with each of these exam questions. First off, I want to again stress that you should answer each of these questions as fully as possible. So one of the first things that I'm going to clarify is what I'm asking with each of these questions. But I put a little note right at the start of this exam. It reads, I encourage you to study for this examination in groups, but when you submit your responses to the questions below, your responses should reflect an individual effort and be in your own words. Now, I will say that I never would have gotten through my degree in philosophy without good study groups. Right? They're key. Philosophy itself is dialectical. Right? So it's key to understanding the material to, in a sense, talk it through with other people. Right? Have a dialogue about it. But I had one semester a situation in which two people submitted their final exam, same name up on the upper right-hand corner. They're identical exams, right? And yeah, that's no different than copying off the person sitting next to you in an exam room. So that's unacceptable. So just when you sit down to write this exam, be sure that it's an individual effort and it reflects your understanding, because that's what I have to grade. Now, we have 6 questions here, 3 from Aristotle, 3 from Hobbes. So I'll just clarify what I'm looking for in each. The first question asks you to do 2 things here. First, present in your own words the function argument found in Book 1. Now, we went over this in class. I gave you the beer store guy example. While presenting this argument in your own words, right, what you should do is use these examples, but when doing so, be sure to expand from your, sort of isolated example to the general point that Aristotle was trying to make, right? The function argument is supposed to, in the Nicomachean Ethics, talk about a general human function, right? Not particular little functions, right? So, the second part of this question, you are to discuss its purpose in the context of Aristotle's position. So, ask yourself, in the larger context of the argument, what the function argument is supposed to do. And I present this as though it's the linchpin for Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. He's able to claim all of the other things that he's able to claim because of this argument. So, offhand, I count at least 3 things that this argument does in the context here. So hopefully that clarifies that question a little bit. Second question, discuss what Aristotle means by moral virtue or virtue of character. Beginning of Book 2 of the Nicomachean Ethics, he gives you a good definition for virtue of character. So define it, discuss it, tell me what it is in general terms. Part 2 of this question, Aristotle adds 3 requirements to his treatment of genuine virtue. And you find those on page 22 of your copy of the Nicomachean Ethics. I ask you to discuss each. This is right around the point where he's saying, to be good grammarians, then we must both produce a grammatical result and produce it grammatically. I altered his example there and gave you a golf example. But after what he's talking about there, he presents you with 1, 2, 3 things that we must also have in line to be genuinely virtuous. Then, Book 3 of the Nicomachean Ethics, Aristotle makes a distinction between what he calls non-voluntary and what he would consider to be properly involuntary. Discuss this distinction and why would Aristotle find it necessary to make this distinction. So again, you're doing 2 things in this question. First off, this distinction. He starts off in Book 3 of the Nicomachean Ethics by defining voluntary action annoyingly by what it's not. He says that involuntary action is either forced or as the result of ignorance of a really particular kind. Now, under the heading ignorance, he makes a further distinction between what he calls properly involuntary action and non-voluntary action, and that's where I was pointing out that there is an extremely helpful footnote for you there as well. So trace that back to the back. It's in the first couple of pages of Book 3 of the Nicomachean Ethics, what you're looking for there. So discuss this distinction, make the distinction for me in your exam paper, and answer the question, why would Aristotle find it necessary to make this distinction? And that's where your footnote comes in handy. So, part 2 of the exam on Hobbes. The first question for Hobbes, I'm actually kind of hard on you here, and my apologies for that. In Chapter 13, Hobbes introduces what he calls the natural condition of mankind, claiming that this condition arises as a consequence of human nature. First, you discuss generally the conception of human nature that we talked about in class. Now, this stems straight from his basic treatment of human beings in terms of appetite and aversion, all the way up to that passage on 161, where he puts forth as a general inclination of all mankind, a restless ... So 161, you'll find the quote there. All right. So treat that, it just basically tell us what sort of beings Hobbes thinks that we are, and be sure to follow it through the steps that Hobbes gives us. And discuss generally the conception of human nature that Hobbes relies upon, and part 2 of the question, describe the state of nature. Right? So describe the condition of war of everyone against everyone, etc., right? As he does in Chapter 13. So that's question 1 in Hobbes. Question 2 in Hobbes. In Chapter 14 of Leviathan, Hobbes introduces a distinction between our right of nature, right, that's our liberty to do whatever we can, and the related laws of nature, right, our obligation to do what one must, right. Discuss each and what sort of relation these ideas have to one another. Now, I'm not asking you to go through all bloody 19 of the laws of nature that Hobbes makes explicit here. I ask you to focus just on the first law of nature, which is seek peace and follow when others do so too, otherwise ... So, I'm asking you to present 2 ideas and comparatively analyze them in this question. All right? So be sure you do all of that. Presenting the ideas won't get you full marks on their own. You need to provide sort of an analysis of the distinction between them. Now, finally for Hobbes, Hobbes argues for the necessity of entering a covenant of the following sort. And this is from 227, I authorize and give up my right to govern myself to this man, or to this assembly of men, on this condition, that thou give up thy right to him and authorize all his actions in like manner. So, I ask you to do, again, 2 things with this covenant, commonwealth agreement here. Discuss this covenant, right? Tell me what sort of agreement it is, what it entails, who's agreeing to what, etc., and what it's supposed to accomplish, right? So, Hobbes calls this the commonwealth agreement, right? So, what is it supposed to do? What's it supposed to accomplish? The easy answer is bringing about peace. But I want more than the easy answer. What sort of power structure is this commonwealth supposed to bring about, right? So, if you do all of these things, and most of these questions I ask you to do a couple of things, if you present these ideas in a clear and concise manner, you should do pretty well in this exam. So, this exam is due by November 5th by 12 p.m., so please submit your responses via Moodle. If Moodle's acting up or you have file format issues, send me an email with your response. And note that I don't open WordPerfect documents. The software is expensive and I just don't have it. Right? So please submit a docx, .txt. I can also read a PDF file. But if you can't submit in any of those file formats, paste your answers to the text box of an email and submit that way. All right. If you have any questions, feel free to email. Thanks.